Every morning at 5:30 a.m., he'd arrive at Pebble Beach Golf Links and fire up his lawnmower, maintaining the same routine for 20 years. Quietly, humbly, invisible to the wealthy golfers who simply called him that grass-cutting guy. But on that Wednesday morning, during the presidential golf tournament, when something glinted in the bushes caught his eye, those golfers had no idea they were looking at a man who had once stood between bullets and presidents, a former Secret Service agent whose trained eyes could spot a sniper's scope from 800 yards away. Welcome to Echo Stories. Before we begin this incredible story of hidden protection, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from today, and if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button to support our channel. Pebble Beach Golf Links, Monterey Peninsula, California. One of the most prestigious golf courses in America, where Fortune 500 CEOs and Hollywood celebrities paid $600 per round to play on manicured fairways overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Robert "Bobby" Sullivan, 67 years old, had been the head groundskeeper here for 2 decades. Every morning before sunrise, he'd arrive in his beat-up Ford pickup truck, change into his work clothes, and begin the meticulous process of maintaining 18 holes of pristine golf course. The golfers knew him simply as Bobby the groundskeeper, a quiet, weathered man who kept the greens perfect and stayed out of everyone's way. He'd tip his baseball cap respectfully when members drove by in their golf carts, always maintaining proper distance between the help and the clientele. What none of them knew was that Robert Sullivan had spent 25 years in the United States Secret Service. From 1978 to 2003, he had protected 3 presidents, countless foreign dignitaries, and high-value targets around the world. His specialty: advanced security, threat assessment, and counter-sniper operations. The transition from Secret Service to groundskeeper hadn't been easy. After a routine physical revealed early signs of PTSD and chronic pain from an assassination attempt in 1987, Bobby had quietly retired with full pension and benefits. He'd chosen Pebble Beach not for the prestige, but for the peace, wide open spaces where he could see threats coming from miles away. This wasn't just any Wednesday. The annual President's Cup Celebrity Golf Tournament was taking place, a charity event that drew former presidents, current senators, A-list celebrities, and tech billionaires. Security was supposed to be airtight, with Secret Service, local police, and private security firms coordinating protection for over 200 VIPs. Bobby had been briefing the current Secret Service team for weeks about the course layout, sight lines, and potential vulnerabilities. But officially, he was just the groundskeeper who knew every inch of the property. "Mr. Sullivan," Agent Sarah Chen had said during the security walkthrough, "we appreciate your cooperation, but please maintain normal operations and stay clear of the VIP areas." Bobby had nodded politely. "Of course, ma'am. Just doing my job." But Bobby's job had never really ended. Once Secret Service, always Secret Service. His eyes constantly scanned for threats. His mind automatically calculated angles and distances. His instincts remained razor-sharp despite 2 decades of cutting grass. At 5:30 a.m., Bobby arrived to find the golf course transformed. Black SUVs, command posts, snipers on rooftops, agents with earpieces walking the perimeter. It looked like a presidential inauguration, not a charity golf tournament. Bobby began his morning routine, but his attention was divided. Something felt off. In 25 years of protecting high-value targets, he'd learned to trust his gut, and his gut was telling him there was a threat the current team hadn't identified. He started with the 7th hole, where the main viewing pavilion had been erected. This was where the former presidents would be giving speeches and presenting awards. Maximum target concentration, maximum vulnerability. As Bobby guided his mower around the pavilion area, he noticed something that made his blood run cold. A small piece of reflecting material in the tree line, approximately 400 yards from the pavilion. To an untrained eye, it would look like morning dew or a piece of trash. To Bobby, it looked like a scope lens. Bobby shut off his mower and walked casually toward the trees, maintaining the appearance of routine groundskeeping. As he got closer, his worst fears were confirmed. Hidden in a camouflaged position was a high-powered rifle with a telescopic sight, positioned for a clear shot at the pavilion. But where was the shooter? Bobby's training kicked in. Never approach an unsecured weapon alone. Always assume the threat is still active. Always have an escape route. He pulled out his radio, officially for groundskeeping communications, but he'd programmed it to monitor Secret Service frequencies years ago. This is groundskeeper Sullivan requesting immediate assistance at the northeast tree line, approximately 400 yards from Pavilion Alpha. The response was immediate but dismissive. Mr. Sullivan, please clear the secure channel. This frequency is for authorized personnel only. Bobby tried again. This is former Agent Robert Sullivan, badge 4471, reporting a weapon cache at grid reference. He rattled off the military coordinates from memory. Silence. Then, stand by. Within minutes, Agent Chen and 2 tactical officers arrived at Bobby's position. When they saw the weapon setup, their demeanor changed instantly. Jesus Christ, Agent Chen breathed. How did this get past our sweep? Bobby was already examining the position like the professional he'd once been. This was placed after your initial security sweep, probably last night. Professional setup. Military-grade rifle, perfect sight lines, escape route through the maintenance roads. "Where's the shooter?" one of the tactical officers asked. Bobby pointed to fresh footprints leading deeper into the woods. "He's mobile. This is just one position. If he's smart, and he appears to be, he'll have multiple fallback positions." Agent Chen was coordinating with the command post through her earpiece. "We have a confirmed threat. Lock down all VIP areas immediately." But Bobby was thinking 3 steps ahead. "Ma'am, if I may suggest, don't change the schedule yet. If he's watching through surveillance, any deviation will tip him off that we found his primary position. What do you recommend?" "Let me track him. I know this course better than anyone, and I know how snipers think." For the next 45 minutes, Bobby Sullivan transformed from groundskeeper back into the elite Secret Service agent he'd always been. Moving through the golf course like a ghost, he identified 2 additional weapon caches and tracked the shooter's movement pattern. The sniper was good, military-trained, patient, methodical. But Bobby was better. 25 years of protecting the most powerful people in the world had taught him to think like a threat in order to stop a threat. At 9:47 a.m., Bobby spotted him. A man in maintenance coveralls moving through the service areas with legitimate-looking equipment. To anyone else, he looked like part of the grounds crew. But Bobby noticed the bulge of a sidearm, the way he constantly checked sight lines to the pavilion, the tactical earpiece barely visible under his cap. Bobby radioed Agent Chen. "I have eyes on the target. He's posing as maintenance staff heading toward the 12th hole service road. Do not engage. We're sending tactical units." But Bobby could see what the agents couldn't from their position. The shooter was heading for a position with a direct line of sight to where 3 former presidents would be standing in less than 20 minutes. Bobby made a decision that took him back to 1987, when he'd thrown himself between an assassin's bullet and President Reagan. Sometimes protecting people meant breaking protocol. He intercepted the shooter near the maintenance shed, approaching casually as if checking on equipment. "Morning," Bobby said conversationally. "You new to the crew?" The shooter's hand moved slightly toward his concealed weapon. "Yeah, just started this week." Bobby nodded, still playing the role of friendly groundskeeper. "Which supervisor are you working under?" Johnson?" Bobby smiled. There was no Johnson on the grounds crew, and hadn't been for 15 years. "That's funny," Bobby said, his demeanor shifting subtly but unmistakably. "Johnson retired in 2009, and I know everyone who works here." The shooter's hand was now clearly moving toward his gun, but Bobby was faster. 25 years of muscle memory took over. In one fluid motion, he disarmed the man, secured him in a submission hold, and had him face down on the ground in less than 5 seconds. "Agent Chen," Bobby said calmly into his radio. "Target is secured at the maintenance facility. You'll want to check his equipment for additional weapons and communications devices." The assassination attempt was thwarted without any of the VIPs even knowing they'd been in danger. The tournament continued as scheduled, with presidents shaking hands and celebrities posing for photos, completely unaware that a former groundskeeper had just saved their lives. The shooter, later identified as Marcus Webb, a disgraced ex-military sniper with connections to a domestic terrorist group, had planned to assassinate multiple high-profile targets during the award ceremony. Agent Chen found Bobby later, cleaning his mower as if nothing had happened. "Mr. Sullivan," she said, "I owe you an apology, and probably a lot more than that." Bobby shrugged. "Just doing my job, ma'am." "Your job is cutting grass." "My job," Bobby said quietly, "has always been protecting people." The setting just changed. Within hours, word had spread through the Secret Service community. Bobby Sullivan is back in the game. Current agents who'd heard legends about the agent who'd saved Reagan were now working alongside him again, treating him with the respect his reputation commanded. The director of the Secret Service called personally to offer Bobby a consulting position. He declined. "I like cutting grass," Bobby told him. "It keeps me close to the ground, literally and figuratively. I can see things from here that I might miss from behind a desk." The golf course members learned bits and pieces of the story over the following weeks. Suddenly, Bobby wasn't just the groundskeeper anymore. He was Mr. Sullivan, the gentleman who keeps us safe. But Bobby continued his routine exactly as before. Same truck, same schedule, same quiet professionalism. The only difference was that now everyone understood why the grass at Pebble Beach was always perfect. It was maintained by a man who understood that excellence in small things often prevented catastrophe in large ones. That evening, Bobby sat on his porch overlooking Monterey Bay, thinking about the day. He'd prevented a national tragedy while most people were having their morning coffee. In a few hours, he'd be back to maintaining fairways and greens, invisible again. His phone buzzed with messages from former colleagues, news outlets wanting interviews, and government officials offering commendations. He ignored them all. The real reward was simpler. Tomorrow, hundreds of people would play golf safely at Pebble Beach. They'd complain about their putts, celebrate their birdies, and never know how close they'd come to witnessing history's worst kind. Bobby finished his beer, went inside, and set his alarm for 5:15 a.m. The greens would need to be perfect tomorrow, and that was a responsibility he took seriously. Sometimes the most important people in our world are the ones we notice least. The groundskeeper who maintains our spaces, the janitor who cleans our buildings, the security guard who watches our doors. Any one of them might be a guardian we never recognize until the moment we need them most. Robert Sullivan returned to his routine because service doesn't end when the uniform comes off. It transforms, adapts, and continues in whatever form is needed. Real protectors don't need titles or recognition. They need only the knowledge that they're still making a difference. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, that quiet person doing their job faithfully nearby might just be the hero you never knew you needed.